Hello, everybody. I am DJ Leandro. Welcome back to the DJ Leandro Music YouTube channel. And in this video, it's another Cubase tutorial. And in this specific video, we're going to be talking about EQ. I'm going to show you some tips and tricks and some things that can help you within your projects. Okay, now before I get started with regards to the video, there's something I do need to make clear, which I've mentioned in many of my past videos, is that whatever I show you with regards to anything, it is purely subjective. I'm just showing you personal things that I do that help me with my productions, but it doesn't necessarily mean it can translate into your productions. There are some things that you might not agree with, and that's totally cool because end of the day, it's up to you what you want and what you want to get out of each of your tracks that you are producing. Okay, so now that we've got that out of the way, first things first, there is something that I want to tell you guys, and it's something that I live and breathe with regards to EQ. It's something that I've been using for the last 20 years that I'd learned when I first started production, and it's a staple of mine that I use all the time, and it is something very simple. And that's one very simple rule. First being, this rule is you're going to boost wide if you want to increase any signal within your frequency, and you want to cut narrow. For me, I use this all the time. Anytime I want to cut a frequency, you will never see me do this. If there's something harsh, and if I want to boost, you will never ever see me boost like this. It'll always be wider. The reason is, number one, the reason why we want to cut narrowly like this is because if there's certain frequencies within a track that we don't like, we want to cut as narrow as we can, find that frequency and cut it like that. That way we make room for the rest of the frequencies within that specific track. Because if you're going to cut more, you're going to cut wider, you're going to be taking away frequencies from that sound that you actually want to keep. And with regards to boosting, the reason why you don't want to boost like this, because it's the complete opposite of what I just mentioned. Because if you're going to boost like that, you're going to boost only one certain frequency, which can sound harsh depending on where you are boosting. So usually what we want to boost a bit wider like that. So that way that specific region is being boosted to make that sound a little bit more richer. Or if we want to make it stand out within a mix that could possibly be a little bit complicated with regards to frequencies fighting each other. So I'm going to show you an example of that now. Okay, I have a snare here. Now, let's say for argument's sake, there's a frequency here that I don't like. Now, what I usually do is I'll make this very narrow. I'll bring it up quite high so I can hear which frequency is bothering me, which I'm going to do now. Although the specific sample, I'm okay with it. I'm just going to show you as an example what it would be like. So I'll play it like this, and I'll find the sample. It's extreme, obviously, because we're trying to find that frequency we don't like. Okay, let's say this frequency we don't want. We're going to bring this down like that. Make it a little bit more narrow. And that's it. Now you understand why. I'm going to turn this off. You see, we got rid of that specific frequency we didn't want without killing the entire track. Okay, so that's one thing that can help you with regards to your EQ. A second thing that a lot of producers might disagree with me is that with regards to snares, as an example, you'll see snares or toms or a lot of even vocals in that case in the lower end of the frequency between 20 and 100 hertz. You'll find that there is signal being processed here. What I usually do is I totally cut this off because I want to make space for my bass and, more importantly, my kick. So I'm going to play this now with it off. And now I'm going to turn it on. Now, a lot of producers will disagree with me on this because they feel that you are removing essence, as they call it, from that specific track. For me, I'm not interested in that because I'm making room for my kick, which I find my kick's going to be more important within my projects. Plus, when you've got your kick playing on top of your snare, you will not hear the difference. If anything, your kick is going to sound clearer, as well as your snare is going to sound clearer. If you really want to make your snare a little bit more, have more presence, personally, I'll boost a little bit here around between 200 and 500 hertz. And now my snare is not fighting at this specific frequency because I've made space for my kick by cutting here. And usually your kick in this low end, in the mid range, if you want, you could even cut here, right, to make space for your snare. It's as simple as that. Now, this same can be applied with any other track, obviously. Now, another thing that I want to show you all, that a lot of those producers who are just starting out producing and that are wanting to learn about EQ, a great tool that you cannot underestimate is presets. If you want to learn about EQ and what specific tracks, for argument's sake, guitar, piano, or vocal, which frequencies to cut or to boost, or which range they are more present, if you want to start off, very simple, go to your presets. What you'll do is you'll open up frequency, and then at the top here, this empty bar, you're going to click there. And then here are all your presets. So in this case, I've got piano keys. And what we can do is we can click piano. And then here you're going to find different presets. So let's hear the keys without anything. So let me just remove this. So this is what it sounds like. Okay, so here we are. Here's our different presets. So I'll click here so you can get an idea what it's going to show. Now, as you can see, it's cutting and boosting certain signals. And this more or less is going to give you a good idea of how you're going to learn about EQ. So never underestimate this tool. It's a great way to work with. And also don't forget, if there's something that you don't like, if you're going to click a preset, let's say for argument's sake, like, let's say we're going to click this one. And let's say we want to cut more from the low end. You can just do that. And you can adjust it accordingly to how you feel and how it sounds to you. So this is a really, really great tool that's going to help you to learn how to EQ. Another sort of a myth with regards to EQ that you're going to hear a lot of, and I'm sure you have heard a lot of, is they talk about mud. Now, when they talk about mud, usually what they are talking about is the mid-range frequency, where we're talking between 200 and 1000 hertz. It's usually this range. For me personally, it is a bit of a myth because you'll find a lot of people say, oh no, you need to cut the mids. You need to cut the mid. It's going to sound muddy, your mix. Your mix is going to sound muddy. I don't tend to agree with that wholeheartedly. Reason being is because this is also the body of majority of your tracks. For argument's sake, like with drums, snare, or toms, this specific range between 200 hertz and 1000 hertz, this is the body of those tracks. And if you're going to cut this because somebody says it's going to be muddy, you're going to actually thin out your drums or toms or snare. I'll show you what I mean now. We're going to play the snare with it on. See if I cut here. See, it's thinning it out. That's what's happening right now. In most cases, if I'm being honest, if you want to add more body to, let's say, if you've got a nice drum loop, what you can do is you can actually just boost, just a small little boost, just a couple dB, just so that you can add a little bit more body to your drums. That's if your drums are lacking a bit of body. So yeah, that's one thing that I find that a lot of people tend to have this misconception. The same can also be said with regards to kick and bass. I have mentioned in my previous video that with kicks, you do need to be careful of rolling off the high end. Because if you're going to cut like this, yeah, it's going to sound great in a club system, but this is your frequency range that's going to be heard on mobile phones and on laptops. So if you're going to cut this off, you're not going to hear, and there's a very good chance you're not going to hear any of that being brought through. So that is something just to be aware of, is that you can cut here. Obviously, there's nothing wrong with it, especially also with bass sounds. With regards to bass, Nothing wrong with cutting off this end to make more space for more high-end frequency in tuned tracks such as cymbals or hi-hats or vocal. There's nothing wrong with cutting off your bass here to make room for that. And that is it. Nice little simple tips and tricks and tool guide for your EQ problems and to help you in the future with all your projects. Hope you enjoyed this video and don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. And I'll catch you at the next one.